I want to meet you. Can I take your hand? How are you?
20 years after they quit their bases in the Philippines, the Americans are back, doing their best to win hearts and minds in Southeast Asia once more.
It's an honor for me to be here. I look forward to being here with you as often as possible.
The Pacific, and in particular Southeast Asia, is very much now on Washington's radar. And with tensions rising over the disputed Spratley Islands, which are just off the coast here, these joint US-Philippines exercises point to an unspoken strategy: to contain China. The concerns, the tensions over what's happening in this part of Southeast Asia right now is, of course, benefiting the arms industry. The territorial dispute, with China at its heart, means that many of China's neighbors are now busy ramping up their defenses.
Thailand, the Netherlands, Timor-Leste.
And it's happening here, in nearby Malaysia, in an almost surreal Olympic Games-like event.
United States, Vietnam, Yemen, and Malaysia.
Malaysia's Prime Minister, Abdul Razak, is basking in the spotlight of a gathering where deals worth millions of dollars will be sealed.
And let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you to this beautiful island of Langkawi.
High-ranking military delegations have come from across the region, along with those representing major international defense contractors.
Thank you, Honorable Prime Minister.
Their focus, defense in a region now experiencing a significant shift in the balance of power.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Lima 2011.
The occasion is the opening of Lima. It stands for Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition, one of the biggest in Southeast Asia.
The range here shows air-to-air and air-to-ground weapons. There's a much greater range, a much greater speed.
Mati Hindrekus used to market sunglasses, proof perhaps that a good salesman can move anything.
It's a real game changer as far as air combat is concerned.
He's showing me the very latest in precision-guided missile technology, replicas of what NATO forces used to such devastating effect in Libya last year.
A high-precision weapon, which is a must nowadays, because obviously collateral damage is something we cannot allow, and so this weapon is highly accurate.
With the economies of Europe and the United States still in trouble, the big arms manufacturers have had to find new markets. And much of that new business is now coming from Asia, where economic growth remains strong. Is this now the most important market in the world for you, right here in Southeast Asia?
Yes. In quantity, yes, for sure. That is most of the number of countries that we trade with is Asian countries. And it is
Viktor Komardin represents Rosoboron Export, a major Russian arms manufacturer. He says business for his company in Asia has never been better.
This year we will make $10 billion. Last year it was $9 billion. Previously 7, previously 5, yes, certainly, yes.
How important is the market in Southeast Asia to you right now?
The Asian market is a growth market for us. Various countries in the region are recognizing the need to modernize and to upgrade their fleet of ships, their aircraft.
Many countries at the arms fair are nervous about China's military rise. Officially, it'll spend more than $106 billion on defense this year, which represents an 11% increase. And that increase comes amid worsening sovereignty disputes with some of its neighbors. One such clash is occurring here, in the resource-rich South China Sea. China now claims sovereignty over most of it, including a group of largely uninhabited islands called the Spratlys. The problem is that the Philippines and 4 other countries also have claims on these islands, atolls and sandbanks, which could also be home to large oil and gas reserves. With their old ally, the US, back in the region, the Philippines is now daring to stand up to China. Malaysia too has upped the ante by recently acquiring 3 second-hand French submarines. Is the purchase of the submarine and the acquisition of more fighter planes in part a response to China's growing military might?
No, we have planned. We have planned the purchase of submarine earlier. In fact,
before you became worried about China.
Yes. And for
Malaysia's defense minister didn't want to discuss China's military expansion, in particular its growing maritime ambitions in the hotly disputed waters of the South China Sea. But on the perceived threat posed by China, is Malaysia concerned because some of your neighbors are?
We would rather discuss it bilaterally and multilaterally in order to avoid any misunderstanding from the claimant country.
But as countries in Southeast Asia try to understand the reasons for their giant neighbours' military expansion, the spending on arms goes on. As well as submarines, Malaysia's also in the market for new warplanes. The consortium behind the Typhoon Eurofighter is hoping to clinch a deal. Why do you suppose countries in Southeast Asia are choosing to spend more on defence now?
I think there's obviously some regional concerns that they have to face.
China.
China is obviously a concern for some governments in this region.
Back in the Philippines, the military hasn't the funds for a full upgrade of its weapons. It still has no fighter planes, but its most senior commander here says his country is prepared to fight if it has to. You once said, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that you would fight China with a sword. Do you still stand by that?
Of course. We might lose one battle, but we will never lose the war of self-determination and sovereignty. But this time,
if it ever came to conflict between China and the Philippines, the United States is obligated to protect its ally.
The United States and the Philippines have a mutual defense treaty. Yes, okay. That mutual defense treaty guarantees that we get involved in each other's defense, and that's self-explanatory.
China's warned that such military exercises are stoking the prospects for conflict in the South China Sea. Just as those war games were wrapping up, 2 Chinese warships arrived in Hong Kong. In language with echoes of the Cold War, one of China's top admirals had this warning to countries who dare to contest China's sovereignty in the waters just south of this harbour.
As everybody knows, Huangyang Island belongs to China. It's a Chinese territory. This is unnegotiable. We have to follow the decisions from our central government. As soon as the orders are given, we will go out and perform our duties.
It is not war, but it's not peace either. Another neighbour has also been clashing with China in these contested waters. These pictures were taken from a Vietnamese Coast Guard vessel last year as it rammed what the Chinese claim was a fishing boat.
Capable of hitting without damage, and if you hit a larger boat from behind, you can just make him lose control.
These increasing skirmishes are partly why Vietnam is keen to upgrade its maritime defences.
This is something very important.
It got the hard sell at the Lima Defence Exhibition in Malaysia from contractors pushing the latest of offshore patrol craft. But the delegation was careful to sidestep questions about why they want to modernize their fleet now.
You'll repel it?
Yeah.
Do you think there could be a war?
I don't think so.
You think you can solve
the
it?
trend now not really war because all the concerning party commitment to show the problem by diplomacy and peaceful methods.
No one seriously believes it'll come to war in the South China Sea, but the diplomacy has not worked so far. And the arms buying spree by countries worried about what China's doing here shows no sign of slowing.